folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, the ABC Network, with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show, awesome topic, a topic that we all need to be mindful of, a topic that I think we can all use. And that is really, uh, I can start it with a question. If there's something in life that you'd like to change to make life better and life is good for you, what would that be? Today, I think we might be able to get that answer with my guest because she helps people really balance their life, and that's something that I think we need. In I think everyone needs it because we all have different directions, different winds that take us, currents, and a lot of environment behind us. And we'll discuss all those details with our guest, Jenny Harkleroad. Jenny, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here this morning.
Well, my pleasure. And what I failed to mention is that you are the CEO of Balanced You, and so that says it all, folks. I mean, just the title, but there's a lot more to that. So, Jenny, why don't you take us to your story and how we got, how you got into creating and putting this mission together that you and the work you do is phenomenal. So let's go through there, and then we can dissect a little bit about all the stuff that I kind of mentioned earlier.
Perfect. Well, they say sometimes when your life gets really messy and you finally figure it out, then you become the model that everyone wants to follow. So it started really bad and it's gotten really good. And I've created a system that'll help people. And I'll start with August 10th of 2013. I'm standing on this mountain ledge with my husband. We had been camping and hiking, and we'd kind of gotten separated from the group. And when we got to this ledge, he totally innocently said, if I was young and in shape, I would jump off of here. And I looked down and I thought, I'm young and in shape, and I jumped. And
Ooh.
unfortunately, it was a little too far. And, I didn't have any parkour skills. So I just landed on this rock. And when I landed, I heard a crunch in my back and I
Mm.
couldn't move. And he tried to get me up and he couldn't. Our friends caught up with us, tried to get me up. They couldn't. They ended up calling 911. They sent in a ground crew. They hiked in. They tried to get to me. They couldn't. And eventually they called Life Flight, and a helicopter came, zip lined me up to a hovering helicopter, took me to the hospital. And the next thing I remember waking up, them saying, "You broke your back." What? I mean, just that split second decision. And I broke my back. And okay, what does that mean? Thankfully, I wasn't paralyzed, but I was broken. And they said, you're going to be laying here for about 6 weeks, and then you'll get your mobility back. And it's a broken bone. Broken bones heal. You'll be all right. And at the time, I owned a real estate company here in San Diego. Very big, very busy, very successful. I've got 4 kids, and they were a lot younger at the time. So crazy mom life, juggling 4 kids and all their activities and all the things. I was running the women's organization of my church. So I had 270 women that I was responsible for their spiritual and physical well-being. I was fundraising in my community, and now I'm bedridden. So life changed. And I had a lot of thinking time. And what I thought was, you know what? I'm just not happy in my life. And I can't quite figure out why, because I married my high school sweetheart. We've got the 4 beautiful kids. I'm super successful in business. I have a great spiritual foundation. I mean, what's my problem? Like, isn't this happiness? Like, what's missing? I don't understand. And so I had a lot of time to think about it while I was laying in bed. And I also, of course, wanted to get better. And so that kind of became the focus, was let's get better. Let's get back on your feet. But the problem was, getting back on my feet meant going back to the same thing, which would create the same feeling of, I don't really like how I'm feeling. I don't really like this life that I've created, and I don't know how to fix it. And so I started seeing, doctors, Eastern and Western medicine, trying to heal my back. And what happened is my mobility came back. My pain got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So the 6 weeks of not being able to function turned into 3 years of not being able to function. During that time, I had major surgery. They put rods and screws and a synthetic disc in my back, thinking that would help, and it didn't. I mean, I saw every specialist under the sun, and after 3 years, they said, sorry, lady, like, your case is hopeless. We don't know why you're in so much pain. We can't figure it out. We're just going to keep giving you pain pills, and we're super sorry. And
I'm sorry. Ooh, of
No, no, there has to be a solution, right? There has to be
course.
something. And so I made it my mission to solve my pain. And I wasn't sure how it was going to happen or when or where, but thankfully it did happen. And I think that's because I was bound and determined to make it happen. I find a medical doctor who lived about a mile from me, who told me that I could heal myself with my mind. A medical doctor. I don't believe him. I think he's a little kooky, but I'm desperate. So I'm like, hey, let's do your woo woo voodoo, whatever it is you do, and see what happens. Well, 6 sessions later, I'm like doing handstands and back bends. I'm healed, completely healed. I, what? What just happened to me? And so I went back to him and I said, thank you. I mean, gosh, I owe you my life here. Like, and can you help me get off these pain pills? And can you help me like my husband again? And can you help me lose weight? And can you help me find something that I'm more passionate about? Can you help me be happy? Can you help me get rid of these allergies? Can you help me get rid of motion sickness? Like I had this list like he was Dear Santa. One by one, we went through and transformed every single thing on the list. I became obsessed with my mind, the power of my mind right between my ears. There was this power that I didn't know how to tap into before. And now I knew how to tap into it. And it was like the world was my oyster, right? Like anything I wanted to change, I could just immediately switch it. And so I sold my real estate company. I sold our home because I wanted to build a new business and I couldn't pay for all the things, getting rid of all the income. And I started studying with this doctor and other doctors and just became obsessed with the mind. So that's how I got into Balanced You. And balance, when I talk about balance, I'm talking about balancing both hemispheres of the brain. Because how we see things and how we think about things, our perception of things, even politics, religion, if you have an opinion, it's because you have a belief, and that belief is in your brain. And if somebody comes up to you and says, actually, the opposite is true, you might fold your arms and say, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about because here's what I believe, right? You're not open. You have a belief system. Well, if you want to see the world in a different light, you have to change a belief, and that has to open up both hemispheres of the brain. So you can't be stuck in your old way of thinking and believing if you want to have a balanced life, a life that feels happy and peaceful and joyful and open and curious and fun. So I focus on balancing the brain, which creates the balance in the life.
Well, hold on. So there's quite a bit there, and I mean, it's funny. I always say that because really, like when I open this, it's just like there's a whole. I mean, it's a world of discussion we have here. But I want to start with step by step. I mean, I want to go back to that moment of that decision that changed your life in a way. I mean, initially, and this is something for all our audiences out there. A split second decision can make life with that. A split second can change life for better or for worse, right? And I
Yeah.
think I think one of the things that we all are guilty, I think, of at a point of our lives is that we do make those decisions based on excitement and so on and so forth, or just like, hey, I'm going to dare you, I'm going to test this, let me see what it works. And by the way, as you were talking, this is true story. When I was a kid, we had a balcony, and I was looking over another building, and that my mind used to tell me if I jumped, I can make it to the other side. I mean, that's a true fact,
Yeah.
and like when you're a kid, it's like I, those days were the movie of Superman, right? So
Yeah.
you can fly, right? And so
Right.
I was thinking about the idea. I mean, so I'm just because when you said that, I was like, it's amazing how the mind does kind of play tricks on you, and yeah, you know what, I can make it. I can do this. And by the way, I did see we were kids one time, and a friend of ours we're just playing and jumping off this little just little it's a small roof, and literally it was stupid. I mean I
Yeah.
admit how bad it was, but when you're kids, right, you do all kind of crazy stuff. That's why I'm very difficult with my kids when it comes to being careful and stuff like that. I mean, they're older now, but really, I saw this kid. He jumped, and as he fell, he didn't break his back, but he cut his tongue in half. I mean, he
Ugh.
literally bit on it, and I mean, literally the thing was just coming off. I mean, luckily they were able to fix it. And it's sad. I'm stating this just because there are a lot of people that make some. I see people jumping of this, doing like you said, parkour, whatever. I mean, listen, I'm nothing against those things. I've been in martial arts, but you know what? There's risk in a lot of these things. A lot of
Right.
outdoor activities, hiking, all the stuff is great for you, but always double check your stuff, have security, like safety gears and things like that. If it's not, is it worth it for me to do that? No, I mean, those are the things. Now, you don't get this until you get a little mature in life. Then you're like, what did I do that for? I mean, what was the point, right? But in your case, I mean, it was just hey, it's a fun moment. Let me try, happy moment. And then the next thing is like, wow. I mean, I guarantee you at the time you're like, what the hell just did, right? And that's really what happens to all of us when we make a move that is that drastic. And it did sound innocent, yet it's bad. Again, I wanted to highlight that because people today they're still going to continue doing and trying to think, oh, I want to do this and see what happens. And by the way,
Yeah.
again, that same mind, it did it. I used to work on my roof, and I'm like, I think I can make it to the grass. Don't do it. I mean, just don't entertain that little whisper, because you will get that, and it's awful. And again, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems that you had it, I had it, and a lot of people have it, and it's just a matter whether you like take a step back or you won't just dive forward. And if you dive forward, there can be bad repercussions, and we had that. Now the good news is that's so. This is the second spin: is that bad things happen for good things to happen. And it's a rule of life, right? I mean, a lot of things, if you ask a lot of successful people, there's something that happened, a setback that almost like got them back to catapult back and forward, right? So you go back and then you just like, shoot back into the future, and now everything is brighter. So sometimes that happens. But again, some people can give up. That's one thing, and which you didn't give up, especially after you went to the all those procedures and things like that, and you were told like, well, sorry, we can do nothing about you. This is it. You're gonna live your life miserable. That's it. And that my second point was really just to extract the concept of that life. It's gonna turn some bad things on our side, and it's how we deal with it, and whether we're resilient and persistent and consistent and relentless about our a way of life and changing ourselves for better, and if we accept sometimes the fact that things are going to get better, I think we can do that. And you now we're going to get soon into the discussion of the mind, and the power of the mind is everything, and you've just discovered that, and you worked with, I mean, you're a living person that can actually tell us more about this, and we're going to deep dive into it. So that was the second, and the last thing I wanted to just address in that is that it is said that in our medical system or health system, and listen, I'm in the health insurance as well, and so I'm surrounded with this world. And again, that's where this whole network started as health discussions, is that there's pros and cons to it, and sometimes there's limitations. And because we have a set of things that we use for medicine, and it's either surgery, medicine, and stuff like that, maybe therapy, all these things, which is by the way, you needed surgery, right? There's no other thing around it for the time. Now, again, we have advancements in these areas. That's great. But then we wind up always in the pain, killing, kind of medication stuff. And that's the part that is usually, then there's a lot of ramifications of those medications. And we can dive into that, and maybe at a different show. But we've talked about this. I mean, there's a lot of discussion out there about how the medication is side effects and this and the other. And, pain. I mean, in my world, we've been discussing even like, um, CBD treatments and all the different psychedelic stuff to help in management, things like that. But those are limitations. I mean, there's good practices there. But again, the concept is that we have this system is okay. You're hurt. We're gonna fix whatever it is, and we're gonna try to patch it with some stuff, and that's how it works. But never going deeper than that, and getting into the worlds that are out there. And I think that's a mistake because we don't use all the stuff. What you did was like, and I love what you said, this guy kind of weird, but I'm gonna test him out. Let's do the voodoo, the woo woo. But that's actually what it is. Like, we see it as such because we don't think that stuff works. I mean, I've had several shows about external, Eastern medicine, about naturopathic stuff, and I've had great stories about people who have actually had the same concept. They had illnesses that's supposed to be basically devastating in life, and they made back a healthier life through different, resources such as the one that you've, pursued. And so it's medicine, naturopathic stuff, Ayurvedic, all the stuff that is natural. And by the way, again, we go back to the roots. Natural is where it is. That's the past. That's our ancestors, right? They lived all the way to the time that we were able to be in this world because they made it through, right? Somehow they did, and that, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But we're here for that reason. So I wanted just to highlight these points because I think these are all, nice little, insights that we can just basically bank to our arsenal and ammunition of information, and just be mindful about it. Again, we're not saying don't do this. I mean, you want to test everything, you want to go through the same steps, and discover everything, but don't limit yourself to one way of doing things. There's more things, and of course, make decisions. Now we gotta now skip into the world of the mind. The mind is the most powerful tool we have. I mean, the mind can do miracle things. I mean, it's funny because I just this morning I was looking at a reel with Mel Gibson. I think it was in Joe Rogan's show, and he was talking about this Chinese medicine person who was doing some moves, like like almost like shooting stuff into his back, and at a point he felt himself like 8 inches off the ground, literally. And it's, I mean, it's, he describes it like it's like, it's something that is out of this world. But this aligns. I mean, this was not even like something I coordinated for this show. It just happened to be a reel that came, stumbled on this morning. But I do believe in these things. I do believe in things that are different, more power, more energy stuff that's available that we don't tap into. I mean, we hear about sixth sense, and I've had shows about those things, and people who have different levels of energy, I guess, manifestation, right? So we talk about manifestation in general, like the more you think about something, the more it happens. And so the other thing is that the joke is that most people will say your brain, and technically we have two brains, and I think that's what you said, the left and the right hemispheres, right? We have two of them. Now, physically and anatomically speaking, they coordinate, our movement sideways. But now let's talk about what did you discover in the mind? I mean, it is just a little kind of matter thing, with a lot of neurons. But what's more than that? I mean, obviously there's more to this mind that actually gives us the energy. Now, of course, I don't know if we're going to talk energy, we're going to talk some other stuff, but I think that's what I'm getting. Let's talk about that, how that all works.
I love that. So, what I discovered that was so powerful was the subconscious mind and understanding the subconscious mind. Now, before I learned all these things, I thought the subconscious just controlled my heart beating and my hair growing and my food digesting and all the automated processes of my body. But what I discovered was my subconscious mind was controlling how I was thinking, how I was feeling, how I was acting, how I was reacting about 95% of the time. And so if you can imagine, let's say you want to lose weight. It's the beginning of the year, right? Like you're okay, I want to lose 20 pounds. And you say, okay, starting Monday, I'm going to eat healthy food and I'm going to go to the gym every day. You make a conscious mind decision. And so you do good for a day or two or three or four or a week or two, and then someone brings donuts to work. And all of a sudden you have a donut and you're like, oh man, shoot, I was doing so good. And then the next day you get a cold and you're like, well, I can't go to the gym now because I have a cold. And pretty soon you're off the bandwagon, right? And you were so determined, but it was consciously. Your subconscious mind is either supporting you or sabotaging you in every area of your life. So, where life is easy, you have a subconscious program that supports you. Where life is hard, you do not have a subconscious program that supports you. So, for that weight loss example, I'll tell you what happened to me. So, we've been on a lot of cruises, and before I knew this work, the first cruise I went on, there was like food everywhere, unlimited food, right? And I ate it. And I couldn't understand why my pants kept getting tighter and tighter all week. But then when I came home and weighed myself, I'd gained 10 pounds on the cruise. So the next time I went on a cruise, I said, okay, I'm not eating ice cream on this cruise. Like that's my only rule, no ice cream. Because if you've been on a cruise, there's ice cream at every turn, right? Those little soft serve machines. My kids, they're always eating ice cream there and running around. Everybody's got ice cream. It was so hard for me to not eat ice cream. I love ice cream. My kids were licking it in my face. I wanted it so bad, but I was consciously determined. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. It was like my mantra. I'm not going to do it. And I made it. I didn't eat ice cream, but It was kind of miserable. Like it was so hard. Then I learned this work. I program my subconscious mind to only want to eat healthy food because that's what I consciously want to do. But I was struggling. I had this battle going on internally, conscious versus subconscious. We go on another cruise. I have no rules for myself on the new cruise. We go on the cruise, we get off, and I go, "Did they have ice cream on this cruise?" And my husband's like, "Ha ha ha, very funny." What do you mean? Of course. I mean, it was everywhere, just like always. Really? I didn't even notice it. I didn't even see it. I didn't even want it. I didn't have to fight myself on it. And guess what? I weigh less than I've ever weighed in my whole life at, like a normal weight, not as a child, of course. Why? Because now my subconscious is supporting my goal instead of fighting, fighting, fighting every day, every hour, every meal, every snack, right? So, where in your life are you struggling? It's because you don't have a subconscious program that is supportive of that. Maybe it's your self esteem. Maybe you get up in public to speak and you get so nervous. Why is that? It's a subconscious program. You can change it. And I'm using these examples because I've been through all these things. I used to get up to speak and you could like see my shirt, my heart was beating so hard my shirt was beating, right? I'm like, this is not a good look. Sweating, shaking, trembling,
Voice is a little, yeah.
this
I
does
know,
not
I
seem
know.
very confident, right? So I programmed my mind to be confident when I spoke. Now, call me up in any room in front of any audience with no notice. Jenny Harkleroad to the stage. If I didn't know I was speaking, no nerves. Why? Because I program my mind to be confident and love to speak in public because I believe I have something important to share that'll help people. What's the point of getting nervous? It just hurts me and hurts my message, right? I had to reprogram my subconscious mind. So, what I learned was that my subconscious, again, was a million times more powerful than my conscious mind. And every time in life I wanted to change something, I was consciously trying to change it instead of subconsciously trying to change it. And your conscious mind, it can only stay focused on a couple things at a time. And then it loses focus, right? Like, this is kind of a silly example, but in my laundry room, I took my dryer sheets out of the cabinet on the right and moved it to the cabinet on the left months ago. Every time I walk in there, I still reach to the right because my brain for 8 years has been reaching to the right. And I'm like, dang it. Okay, they're on the left. I refuse to move them back because it just helps me see how unconscious I am. When I go do laundry, I'm not thinking about laundry. I'm thinking about, the conversation I just had, or the client I just saw, or what I'm making for dinner, or something else. My mind is somewhere else, and I reach the wrong place and I go, I moved them over here. And so we do that in life. We're just in these repetitive habits, but it also is in our relationships. I mean, you fall in love, you get married, it's bliss, and then half the time it's divorce court. What? How? How does that happen? Well, when you're first married, what do you do? Or when you're first dating, what do? You speak in poetry. You wear the best clothes. You smell delicious, right? Like you do all the
The right
things.
things, yeah.
And then after a few years, you're focused on work and the dogs and the kids and the bills and I don't have time to smell good, right? I don't have time to speak in poetry. I don't have time to plan the romantic getaways. I gotta like survive. And so we leave our conscious mind, we go into our subconscious program, and that subconscious person might not be as charming as you can be consciously when you try. And so that's why it's like, who did I marry? Who is this person? This is their subconscious that you're now married to, right? They're automatic. If they try hard, if they're in the doghouse and they try hard, they can be really nice. But, that only lasts so long and then they go back to their old ways. Who's this person? I don't want to be with this person. that's what happens. So, how do you change that? Well, it's all about self work and self growth, being the best that you can be. How do you want to be? I mean, you probably want to be the best person you can be. But I don't know about you. Have you ever tried to change something and it just seems like, gosh, I read a book on communicating better with my husband and I think I know all the secrets. And then I finish the book and I go have a conversation with him and we get in a fight. And I'm like, what? I just read the best book on communication. What happened? Well, knowledge doesn't equal understanding. Just because you know something doesn't mean you are that thing, right? It's like James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits. If you want a habit to stick, you have to become a new person. Well, how do you become a new person? You change a subconscious belief. And so that's what I do with people. I help them program their subconscious mind to support what they consciously want in their life. And then I help them take action. So, what do you want? Let's get the subconscious supporting that automatically. So, you're not trying to be that. You are just being that. You're not trying, you're being, and then go do it. You still have to do the work, you still have to take action. But when the subconscious supports you, remember, literally a million times more power in the subconscious mind. It processes about 40 million bits of information per second, can do thousands of things all at the same time. So, what's your natural set point when you wake up? Are you happy? Are you cheerful? Are you excited? Like, how do you want to be? You can program your subconscious to be that way automatically. It's the greatest discovery of the 21st century.
Oh, I'm listening to you, right? you don't want to cut you off because there's so much stuff that you just gave us there. But it's funny. You and I we started the discussion earlier before even we went live, and what it was, you said life is good, and like really, that's where everybody wants to be. Life is good, and we want to have everything that we possibly can dream of. That is positive, great, happening, success, you name it, we want it. But you're right. We have all this pre-programming, or at least programming that is on us from the minute you're born. There's programming that's coming from your parents, from your school, from your environment, from the TV, and now we have the social media. So we have a lot of programming that is there, and that's already there. And you're right, it's so much in behind the scenes that we don't even know. You said it's like that, what we call, like like we have road hypnosis, for example, right? You drive, subconsciously you get somewhere. You don't even know how you got there, but you got there because you already know the road. You don't even, you're talking on the phone, you're like something doing busy, and then boom, you're there. So these things are already, like we sometimes, you see a picture and start humming something because you saw a commercial years back. This is already there. And I love what you said about the relationship, because I know you do that work too. It's amazing that you're right. When everybody dating, they're going to be at the best behavior, the way they eat, the way they smell, the way they walk, the way they dress. And once they get together, it's like, okay, everything's cool. We don't have to do all that now, which is the wrong way to do it. Ultimately, you have to refresh that ongoing to keep it going. But you're right. It's your programming. Like someone can put a facade, can put a show, temporarily, but that's not, the show cannot go on for, for a long time. And if you're not consistent, it will be clear. That's why, for example, investigative stuff, like they ask you like the same question 10,000 ways and different angles, different people. Before you know it, you're probably going to fit, because if it's not consistent, they're going to catch it, right? Same thing in life, right? We have this programming, and who you are is who you are, and you're not going to change that unless you reprogram, which you do. And it's funny because when you talked about the two hemispheres, I was thinking more just like the physical part of it. But you do this is deeper than that. You're talking about where it all's happening, and in mental health, that's the biggest part. In hypnosis, that's the biggest part. Our subconscious is where everything else is cooking, right? And that's, as you said, 95% plus is where it's happening, and we are not aware of it. That's the thing. It's happening. Some people say, and by the way, our mind doesn't even know what's real, what's not real. You tell it something, it's going to believe it, and then it's going to act based on that behavior, right? On whatever you tell it. So it's changing the dynamics on how we see the world. And some people also may be caught with who they are, and they're not even aware that they're doing the wrong things. As you said, you wind up in court. Like, yeah, I love what you said, because everybody starts a relationship with love and the feelings. Is like, so where the hell did it go? But yet not. I've seen people that get together in 2 months, 3 months. Some people actually divorce the next day. We've heard stories, right? Why? How did you date someone for many years, and then all of a sudden you're married, and you, because you didn't live with them, because you discovered a different person. Well, where was that person? It's always been there. The question is, you did not, because you don't want to see the things. That's the other thing that I want to, just to address, is that I think it takes a little bit of awareness that needs to take place. I mean, because here's the thing. I mean, right now you're talking to me. I mean, if I don't want to, if I want to refuse what you're saying right now, or to the world, right? We can say no, no, I'm good. I'm happy with my habits. I'm good. I don't want to change. I mean, we say change is good, right? But people sometimes they think that what they have is everything that they need. And until again something that happens in life, like, this is not right, there's something like, or people, actually, we have this in the business world, for example. I'm happy doing what I want, I'm doing the stuff, I get up, I go to work, do this and that. Are you really happy? And then that's the thing, they're miserable, like, they always complain. I mean, someone's always complaining about their life, their relationships, their work. I'm tired, I'm not making enough money, and so all this stuff is just conditioning that they have, and so they get so accustomed to it, but then at the same time they're not too pleased with it, and it doesn't go anywhere. How do they change that? Well, they can't unless they see, a value of it, of the change, right? Now, that's my question. How does someone, I mean, in your case, it was a big change that got you this. As we said, there are setbacks that actually triggers to get to this point. But for the average person that have no eventful, event or something that can actually trigger this, how do we make them transit? I mean, someone to work with you, for example, they need to see the need. I mean, same thing with psychiatry or a hypnotic, a hypnosis or hypnotherapy, right? All the stuff you see a need, you do this stuff. And before you answer that question, it's funny because you said something about the cruises. And I cruise frequently, and you're right. It is. It is. I mean, actually, it's funny you said 10 pounds, and that's actually what they keep claiming. When you go to the first show, it's like everybody's going to walk in at the end of the cruise, you're going to be 10 pounds over. So it's typical. That's actually what you will gain if you stay 7 days in the cruise ship, because the food is everywhere, and ice cream, as you said, is everywhere, and hot dogs, pizza, everything that is bad is there. I mean, there's good stuff too, but that's what we do, right? We indulge. And there's gym. That's the funny thing. There's gym, there's tracks, and you have the gym with two people, and you have the actual food area with hundreds, right? It's the same thing. I mean, it's amazing how it works, but that's how because people are on vacation. I get it, they do this stuff, but it is the fact that that people make decisions that are conscious sometimes, and or if they actually pre-program themselves. And by the way, I did actually on a cruise ship. Funny that you mentioned that. I took a hypnosis. There was a show, and a hypnotherapist was on the show, and she did different sessions, and of course, she did the whole thing with the on the stage and everything. And I was actually, this was like when I was skeptical about hypnotherapy and stuff. And so I'm like, I want to test this. And she had an open session where we had to go in and stuff. And I wanted just to see if this is real or not. And it was about food. And at the time, I was about maybe 25 pounds over than what I am today. And this was a few years back. And I said, you know what? Because apparently the session was that to help you kind of not crave food. Okay, so let's do this. So I did, and I timed the whole thing. So I put the clock in, when we started the show, and you go in, and they're basically, she keeps talking, and you're listening, and you're just like you go into this nice, beautiful place, and then wake up, you're back, and then I looked, it was 30 minutes. It felt like it was a couple of minutes, and it was 30 minutes. Now that was not the fun part. The fun part is that actually I stopped craving food after that. And literally, I did not eat, the same way. I literally, for at least 5 years, I can guarantee you this, 5 years went by, and I had no excitement about food. I was very healthy and conscious about it. I guess that stuff dissipates over time. So you got to reprogram every now and then, but it works. So what you're talking about is the real McCoy. I mean, folks, I mean, this is the real thing. We have an expert that actually works the mind. So that now you can answer that question. And again, it's really like, how do we get someone to be aware and really trigger, the need to change?
Yeah, I love that question. And I teach it in something called the 17-second rule. And the
Mm.
17-second rule goes like this: a thought is an electrical signal in the brain for 17 seconds or less. But if it goes on for more than 17 seconds, it becomes a chemical reaction within your body. So you start to feel equal to the way you're thinking. When you feel equal to the way you're thinking, it attracts like thoughts so that you believe your story. This becomes a feedback loop. You're thinking it, you're feeling it, you have proof. And then if this goes on for just 68 seconds, just over a minute, it literally changes your energy field. Your energy field is responsible for what you attract and what you manifest in your life. And so the moral of the story is you only have 17 seconds to catch your thinking before it becomes your reality. And like you said, your brain doesn't even know what's true or false. I have some techniques we can get into later, but like if you get stung by a bee, you can tell your brain you didn't and it won't respond because it doesn't think you did. If you're willing to go against what actually happened, I mean, your brain believes the story. Just like if I've got a lemon tree here in my backyard. If I go out and pick a lemon, I cut it, I squeeze some juice into my mouth. If you're like getting into that story and thinking about it, the lemon's not even in my house right now, but your mouth might have just watered. Why?
Oh, well, I think we just did.
Why does
But you,
that
I love.
happen?
That's true. That's true. That's fact. Yeah.
So you said what we need is some level of awareness, and that is exactly the secret. You've got to be aware that your thought process is creating how you're feeling, is creating your reality. So if you don't like your reality, you have to reverse engineer it. If you don't like how you're feeling, you have to reverse engineer it as what am I thinking? And the problem with what I used to do is I thought my thoughts were true. I thought everything going through my head was fact. And in fact, it was what I perceived based on the lens through which I was seeing the world, based on my subconscious program. And so set an alarm once an hour. Ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Is it supporting me? Is it creating the life of my wishes and dreams, or is it sabotaging me? Every time you go to do the dishes, what am I thinking? Or you stop at a traffic light, what am I thinking? Because again, it's just a story. You're the narrator of your own life, narrating through your perception. So that's the secret is catch the thought, be aware. Because if you want to change something, you have to change something. And it starts with your thinking. And so the question, I call it the golden question, is how would you rather feel? Let's just say you go downstairs and you start tripping over your kids' toys and shoes, and you're like, oh my gosh, how many times do I have to tell them to pick up after themselves, right? I can say this. I have 4 kids. They're grown up now, but I remember the
Yeah.
days. Okay, so catch the thought. And you're like, well, that's true. You're literally tripping on their shoes and their toys. Like this is true, right? How many times? And then you might go into nobody listens to me. Nobody cares what I think or how I feel. Nobody supports me. And it just kind of turns into this like downward spiral, you know? And so stop that. Instead, what could you think? What a blessing it is that I have 4 happy, healthy, amazing children. I mean, how many people have that? How blessed am I? You know, what else could I think? It would take me 30 seconds to straighten things up. How about I just do that? You know?
It,
So
it's a
changing,
choice.
it's a choice. It's a choice. Yeah. So instead of just letting the thoughts spiral down, catch it. And what would be a better way to go about things? That doesn't mean you can't ask for help or ask them to do things, but this happened last night. I'll give you an example. I have company at my house right now, last minute company that I wasn't expecting. 5 people. Okay. It's a fair amount of people. So last night I'm cleaning, right? Because company's coming. And my husband walks in the house and I'm like, hey, would you mind unloading the dishwasher? And he says, I knew I shouldn't have come in the house. Every time I walk in here, you give me an assignment.
I'm not gonna judge.
And I think there's a lot of things you can think about that dynamic, right? I'm thinking, well, this is your family, right? Coming to our house last minute, almost unannounced, right? Like, but instead, I thought, you know what? I grew up in a house that was neat and tidy and orderly. And after you did your chores, mom checked to make sure you did them right. Okay. Husband grew up in a fun house. Cleaning, what is that? Okay. So when company came, you don't clean, you have fun with your company. So totally different perspective. And so I'm thinking, who wants the house clean? I want the house clean. He doesn't care if the house is clean. I don't know if his family cares. So I'm trying to get him to do what I want so the house looks how I want it to look. So instead of getting annoyed at, like, I'm cleaning the whole house, doing all the beds, all the laundry, all the things, and you won't even unload the dishwasher, or you have a comment about it, instead of thinking that, I can say, I can see why he would say that, because that's not his programming. He didn't grow up. People are coming and you got to get everything ready. And also, he didn't grow up with dad doing chores, right? And so I can understand why he would say that, why he would feel that way. And it's me who wants the house clean, and I'm going to clean it. I'm going to be okay with that. So, yeah, it's a lot of like kind of taking a step back instead of we're so reactive, right? I mean, I could have gotten really upset about that. And in the past, I would have. But now that I catch myself and reprogram myself to be more kind and patient and loving and understanding, then I can, they say count to 10, but count to 10 just makes you hold it in, right? Just don't say it. But that's not what we want. We actually want to feel different. We want to be more understanding about things and more patient about things automatically and be able to make a choice of our response instead of either just saying it and regretting it or holding it in. We want to feel different.
Jenny, listen to your example. I mean, it's the perfect example because I think the problem that we all have in general is that we, as you said, we're reactive. We have expectations. We tell someone something, and we expect it to happen. But what we don't know is what we don't do typically is to take a minutes or a couple of seconds to kind of think about like what did it just ask and why the response is the way it is. And by the way, psychologically speaking, we're supposed to actually take a breather before we react to anything. I mean, if we all take a minute or less to just think about any response we give, that can change the whole world for us. Like most of the decisions that we make are based on that first reaction, as opposed to taking a step back and just kind of like, what's there. If we just give it that little extra thought process, and as you said, it's like giving someone the benefit of doubt for whatever reaction and response they have. And there's nothing to that. We just have to. It's funny because you talked about like that's how it's been, and you programmed yourself. Well, I think we have to program ourselves every time. We're doing this with everyone, and when we do that, eventually it becomes second nature, and then that's it. You've already established that for yourself, and now you're an expert at it. But the average person doesn't have that because again, we're just robotic. And by the way, guilty as charged. Everybody has that same effect on themselves and other people. We see something like and we get excited because we don't think the minute you start. And by the way, I do both. I mean, there are times where I'm just so reactive, it's not even funny. Everybody's looking at me like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm having a bad day. And there are times where actually, you know what? I just step back and think like, well, maybe because of X, Y, Z. And if you start thinking about why, and by the way, this is a fact, and I think in one of the discussions I had with a psychiatry, expert, we talked about the idea of when people, for example, road rage, have excitement. And all it takes, people get excited, but why? When people get in your face and they get all funky about it, why? If you just say like, and this is what I was told, like, "Are you okay?" You just kind of like completely change the narrative. It's like, "Oh, what do you want?" And get all excited and raise your voice, like, "Are you all right?" I'm sorry, is there anything, maybe I got you on the wrong day. If you change the tone and you kind of become curious about it, and you can change the whole dynamic of the whole conversation. Your ego is not gonna, and that's the thing. I think our egos are really our worst enemy. And even ego you can check at any given moment, because if you're using, as you said, your control method of the mind, and those 17-second rules that you apply to really control, things can change. I mean, literally, 17 seconds sounds not a lot. It could be an eternity, but it's all happening fast. But at the same time, you have to train yourself and your mind to do that. Like, if we can actually do this as an exercise, and maybe you do this actually for people, is that every time you have a question, you take 17 seconds in your mind just to think before you do anything. It could be anything simple, right? I think that can change our stuff. Now, listen, I know it does because you do the work and it's working, and you've been also exposed to it. But I think for all our audiences, this is just an exercise that we can all do. I mean, and these are practical things that can help shift things. But there is a thing, Jenny, about this is that it takes a mindset, right? This is like shifting your mindset from one personality to another, from one way of looking at things to another way. As you said, this is I want this, not him. But I'm asking him. So maybe, he's gonna do me a courtesy here to do this with me. So I gotta be a little bit, it's like give and take discussion, right? It's not like, an order and a command. And that's the difference. So if you are conscious about this, that means your mindset is already in the right place. Is that the truth for everybody else? That's the question. I mean, I think we all are struggling in our lives, in general. And then someone can say, well, I'm not struggling. And by the way, I don't think of anyone that doesn't have some level of struggle, but it's how we deal with it, right? Some of us just have better handle on things than others, right? And again, we use different tools to do this. Your tools are ultimately going to get us to the better level where we're really, really at a zen, at all times and stuff. And by the way, if you talk to any gurus and and I've had some of those discussions, they're not phased that easy. You can't face people that are actually in control. And that's the thing, like people get angry quickly. Now remember, your split second decision and you got 3 years of bad stuff, right? That's exactly what happens. Someone gets excited, they raise a voice, boom, we have a fight. Boom, we have, God forbid, a shooting. Boom, we have an accident. And it's something happens at very least second, one, two, and it's over because of reaction, as opposed to taking that zen is like, okay, I'm cool and collected. And so I've been in martial arts, and that's a practice too. And I think if you encounter a martial artist, they're not going to just start swinging at you. I don't know of any martial artist that's just going to come up and start fighting with you unless you really take action. And even if you take action, they probably will dismantle your action, but they're not really going to be the proactive one, unless it's a alive and dead situation. Maybe there's some of that, but really they will avoid that fight at any given cost because they know what the out ramifications of a fight would be. And then the example I usually relate to martial arts because I think it's a common thing that everybody have seen and watched is that you look at a sensei or an any of Sifu, any of the masters, they usually have more calm. They don't want to fight. No, I don't want to do this. I don't want please, and that's because they are aware. They already trained themselves to not be like reactive. And I think that's the thing that you've addressed is that there's a reaction, but there is conscious action, which is what you actually do because it's not the conscious that's working. It's you already programmed yourself not to actually react. So, and by the way, that sounds contradicting, but it's not. It's really you have to take action. That's what we see, but it's your subconscious that actually operated here because you triggered that. And so that's a big difference of how we do things. And the more we're aware, and again, listen, I've done this work, I mean, of shows for a few years, and believe it, it changed my life because the stuff I learn from these discussions, I apply. Actually, I'm always I make a joke. I'm the first customer and client to my shows because I get this stuff. I mean, the more I hear about it, I mean, it makes sense. And I mean, you're a world expert in this matter, so I'm gonna take it for what it's worth. I mean, I'm gonna apply this, but I'm just as I'm hearing you, I'm listening to you, I'm literally seeing the value of it because I'm thinking, I'm visualizing exactly what you've done. And anyone watching right now, you probably do the same thing. If you just see the picture, or if you're gonna remind this a little bit, just rewind it for a couple seconds, review this whole thing again, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about here. And you'll be like, oh, I could use that. I mean, what would you lose? Nothing. If you're watching and listening right now, try it. Someone comes to you, they give you a response. Think about what that response is from, and you'll be like, maybe I shouldn't have asked that question. And if we did this, I think we changed the world already. So Jenny, now you refer to three minds in your work. And we're going to talk about your books because you have a couple of books out there too. So we're going to touch on those. So now we've talked about the subconscious mind, the conscious mind. Well, what's the third mind?
Yeah, the third mind is the super conscious mind. So that's
Ooh.
like your spirit, your soul, your connection to God or a higher power. It's like you have this innate wisdom and knowing. And when I was in real estate and I was so successful, I had this yearning to do something else. And I would shut it down and say, stop daydreaming about what could be. Look what you have, right? Like you're so successful. Like look at your checking account. Look at all your homes and your cars and your travel and all the things. It doesn't matter that you're not super passionate about what you're doing. Just keep doing it. And I have this argument with myself, but but I feel like there's something more for me. I feel like what if I was passionate about what I did? What if I woke up excited about it? What if I would just loved what I did? And I was constantly shutting that down, going, there's nothing like that. Stop it. So I had this like inner knowing that I was meant to do something else and I was on the wrong path and I wouldn't listen. And I believe it's what caused this massive wake up call that took me 3 years to like get me on the right path. I was that stubborn about it. And a lot of the reason I was so stubborn was because of my own limiting beliefs. My self-worth was caught up in my success. Everybody knew me as this great agent, real estate agent in San Diego, super successful. And I thought, well, if I left this, how would I be so successful? What would people think? Would they think maybe I failed and so that's why I got out of the business? What I couldn't handle it. I would have nightmares thinking about doing something else. So I was really wrapped up in what I was doing. And so the super conscious mind is like it's quieter. It whispers, and you have to get still and listen. All the answers are there if you'll listen and be open to it. And sometimes it's scary. I sold my houses. I had to get rid of my housekeeper. That was almost sadder than getting rid of the houses. I
I know
started
we got to be tough.
over. I started over because I wanted to just be joyful and be on the right path. And my path is, I believe, to end suffering worldwide. And why do we suffer? It's because of what's going on in our head, which causes how we're feeling, which causes our reactions and our thought processes and our decisions. How do you do that? Well, it started one person at a time. You mentioned my books and podcasts and stages. And now I have an app that literally helps people train their brain to create what we're talking about today. Why? Because it I couldn't figure out how to do it on my own. I had to come up with a process. All these things I would hear, they sounded phenomenal, but I wasn't really sure how to put them into practice, how to actually repattern the subconscious mind. Psychologists say we have 50 to 80,000 thoughts per day. About 80% of them negative, about 90% of them are repeat of yesterday, which is why today feels like yesterday and the week before, the month before, the year before. We're going through the same programs and the same processes. How do you change all that? I mean, that is a full-time job, 50 to 80,000 thoughts a day. How do you actually get past that into the subconscious and repattern that? And so that's what I discovered. These three minds are like the three legs of a stool: conscious, superconscious, subconscious. And when one of them is off, you keep falling off the stool and you're like, what? How come my life is like this? How come it feels so unsteady, unbalanced, stressful, unhealthy, unhappy? Because those three minds aren't working in tandem. You consciously want this, your subconscious is programmed for that, your superconscious is like, hey, you should really be on this path over here. And you're like, I need antidepressants, right? I need alcohol. I need to scroll for hours a day. Like, we don't understand what it is, what's going on. And it's like we're kind of all over the place. And again, we need to come back into balance. We need to get our three minds in alignment. But the cool thing is we consciously get to choose who and how do I want to be? And now I know how to create that. What am I meant to be? What am I here for? Do I have a higher purpose? I believe we do. So what is that? How do I figure that out and get on that path? Once you figure that out, then get your subconscious supporting you, and then it's just like, oh my gosh, wow, this feels better. Like people look at me, I may look like the same old Jenny I've always looked like, except I used to have long hair. But I don't feel anything like that girl that was all over the place with chronic pain that I struggled with before even breaking my back because of my life. I had stress in my mind. Your body is a barometer of your mind. Something's going wrong with your body. We think in America we need to go see a doctor, and I'm not saying don't see a doctor, but I'm just saying it's probably caused from the stress in your mind, the tension in your body. Our knee hurts. We think something's wrong with our knee. Maybe it is, but maybe something's wrong with our life. Fix your life, all of a sudden your knee stops hurting. Weird. How did that happen? It's connected.
Power of the mind is just unbelievable. Like, the more I hear these things, I mean, it just confirms that. I mean, really everything. I People control, everything around in this world with the mind. I mean, I think, and then I love what you said about that three, kind of sides of our balance. I mean, it's the subconscious, superconscious, and the conscious, and one of them is off. You're, as you said, you can fall, just like the stool example. And I love what you said about the limiting beliefs that we have. I think that's the other thing. We inhibit ourselves in terms of thinking. And you're right. I mean, if we're actually having all these 50,000 plus thoughts a day and a lot of negative, spin to those things, and we are revisiting the same over and over, like, and by the way, most of us can like dwell on yesterday and the past and, oh my God, and why and why and why, instead of looking at today's a bright day. That's why a lot of experts, they tell you when you wake up in the morning to say good things about yourself and how you're going to have a great day today. I mean, I made a joke one time. We, like, actually, it wasn't me, it was my wife. She said, "Why we always say, good morning? Why don't we say, like, hey, great morning?" I mean, it's a simple, change, but really, is it a an English thing, or is it just like, I mean, great is better than good. I mean, I'm assuming, right? So stuff like that. The more you say positive things, the more you're going to live in that world, and you're going to elevate yourself. But again, it is difficult because the thing is that people are just conditioned. I think that's really what it is. And when I mentioned earlier about awareness, that's the stage one. But really, sometimes people have to be almost in front of something like this, a show, a book, an app, something that will like trigger their. It's like the Matrix, right? You're sleeping until someone wakes you up, like, wake up, slap. This is not the real world. You can live a better world. And and by the way, thank you for sharing the fact that you've lived a great life. I mean, I'm sure that everybody would dream of the life you had, houses and all the stuff that comes with, the success. But was that enough? Obviously it was, but it was not fulfilling. You do the same thing now. You have just as much success, but now you're satisfied because you do stuff that you're passionate about. And that's the other thing. I mean, a lot of us suffer in a lot of ways because we are stuck in old behaviors, old habits, old jobs, all things that relationships that we are not really doing good, but yet we are just caught into them, and we don't make the no, this is not working. I want to do something better for me and change. And maybe as I change, I can change the people around me too. Because that also stuff. Your influence is huge when you actually are in a positive spin, right? If your energy emits to everybody around you. So the more you're good, the more people around you are gonna get some of that positive, right? It's contagious. I mean, we're talking on a show and I can feel it coming from you right now. I mean, we're not even in the same room. And it's a fact, really. I mean, if even watching and listening, you can see that. I mean, Jenny is really like excited about the stuff because she believes in it, and it's worked for her and it's working for her clients, and it's changing. But it is like sometimes the decision for you to do all that, and yes, it was some financial piece. You want to build this business, you're going to need some capital or whatever. But again, you were willing to make the sacrifices because you know what's at the end of that light, the tunnel. Like you're going to have a brighter light. It's going to have a better life. It's like you're going from a dark side to a different, heaven, space that's going to be changing your life. And you did. But again, you were already tapped into the higher conscious, if you want to call it that way. And so now you see things not the average person can see. Now, remember, and I think you said it clearly, everybody has the capabilities of doing this. The only difference is we got to like get into it. We have to like press that button and make that decision. I want to do more. I want to change. Everybody that's watching and listening, by the way, it doesn't have to be in the US. It can be anywhere in the world because this is worldwide. You can do this. And by the way, I think your services are available. Your work is available. I mean, books are books, right? You can download and or you can purchase anywhere. All these things are available tools. The question is to be exposed to it. And hopefully that we've done that today. And you're doing a lot of these talks and the work you do. So it changes the dynamics. Now, you do also some, I think I've read something about muscle testing. What is that?
Oh my goodness. It's the
Uh-oh.
secret sauce.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Good. I mean,
Okay,
this is
okay.
this is the magic. This is the magic show today. We got to change your life, folks.
Yeah. I grew up around muscle testing. My dad's a retired chiropractor. A lot of chiropractors use muscle testing. As I saw my dad use muscle testing, it was physical, meaning he would run his fingers down someone's spine. He would have his patient hold out their arm, and he would press down on their arm that was outstretched parallel to the floor. And while he was running his fingers down their spine, where there was a subluxation, a disc out of alignment, all of a sudden they couldn't hold up their arm. So a muscle test is your biofeedback system, your body's way of saying what's going on. So instead of x-raying somebody's body, he could just touch it, muscle test it, and figure out where everything was out of alignment. Then he would adjust it, touch it again, all of a sudden they could hold up their arm. Like bingo, okay, your body told me where you were out of alignment. I fixed it, and now it's testing strong, right? And the body's meant to heal. And so chiropractic is all about getting things in alignment so you can heal naturally. So I grew up around this, and I was very familiar with muscle testing. He also used it for herbal supplements. Let's say someone comes in and one of his patients and says, I'm having digestive problems. And he goes, okay, I have these 3 herbs for digestion. Hold this one. They would hold it. If their arm would go down, he'd go, well, that one's not going to help you. Hold this one. Their arm would stamp. You go, oh, that's a good one. How many of these do you need to take? And he would muscle test. Do you need 1 a day? Their arm would go down. Nope. Do you need 2 a day? Yep. Okay, you need 2 a day. For how long? For a week? No. For 2 weeks? Yes. Okay, 2 a day for 2 weeks. Their body knew. There was this inner wisdom. Okay, so I grew up around this, totally normal. So when I'm in chronic pain and my poor chiropractor dad is trying to fix me, fix my back, and it's burning, burning, burning pain, I go to this medical doctor who used muscle testing. And he said, Jenny, how come your back's hurting? And I said, because I broke it, Dr. Warren, of course, right? He says, hold out your arm. He presses down on my arm. My arm goes down, meaning that's not why it hurts. And I'm thinking, don't know about this guy. That's weird, but I felt it. I felt my arm go down. I couldn't hold it up. I tried really hard. My arm wouldn't stay up. He said, well, if it's not because you broke it that it's hurting, why could it be hurting? I said, I don't know. Like, what other options do I have? And he said, well, maybe it's nutritional. Well, while I was stuck in bed, I wrote a book on whole food plant-based eating, which is a diet that I subscribe to, prescribe to, believe in. And I thought, well, I sure hope it's not that because I just wrote a book about it and it's published and it's on the bookshelves. I hope it's not nutritional. So he tests, muscle tests, he presses on my arm. It's not nutritional. Okay, good. My books can stay on the shelf. Okay, what else? Why is your back hurting, Jenny? I don't know. He goes, maybe it's like energetic, like acupuncture, you have chi, you have energy flow, like you're an energetic being. Maybe something's off. I don't know what he's talking about, but I checked that. No, it's not that. Okay. He goes, well, maybe it's emotional pain. Maybe your back's hurting from your emotions. And I go, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, let's test that. He presses on my arm, and my arm is like a rod, like iron rod. I'm like, press harder. And he's giving it all his force. And like, he can't even budge my arm. And he goes, oh, your back pain's emotional. And I go, what in the heck? No, I broke my back. Like, here's the MRIs. I had a back fusion. Like, this isn't my emotions. And he's like, didn't you just feel that? Your body's saying it's emotional. I'm like, yeah, I didn't feel that. I don't understand this. This was before I knew everything I know now, right? And he says, well, what's emotional in your life? And I'm like, I don't know, nothing. I'm good.
So is that everybody's reaction? Yep.
He says, well, tell me about your childhood. I go, oh, I don't talk about my childhood. He
Ah.
goes, tell me about your marriage. I go, oh, I don't talk about my marriage. And he goes, I thought you didn't have any emotional things. And I start reciting my positive affirmations. I said, I don't. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm terrific. I just can't sit, can't drive, can't function, burning back pain. And he says, well, unless you're willing to talk about your childhood and your marriage and maybe some other things too, I don't think we're going to get anywhere here. And I said, do you have Kleenex? Because I've been suppressing for 40 years. And if we tap into that well, you might get wet. And so we did. I cried a river and I felt worse, not better. And then he said, "Do you want to come back?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Give me your arm. Do you want to come back?" And my arm stayed strong. And I'm like, dang it. I have to come back and I have to pay you for this? Oh my gosh. So I came back and we did the same thing. And he just kept muscle testing. And what I discovered was that it was the tension in my mind causing the pain in my body. I had chronic pain my entire life. I got put on prescription pain pills when I was 12, went into liver failure in my 20s from all the pills I was taking. I had a history of chronic pain. Why? Because my body was a barometer for my mind, and I didn't understand that. I thought stuff was just wrong with my body. No, I had some trouble right here, some stress and tension. And it started with my mother. You want to hear about my mother? She was a
Sure.
wonderful mother, except that I didn't think I needed a mother. She would tell me what to do, and I'd say, "Lady, I am in charge of my own life. Leave me alone." She would say, "No, little kid, you are not. You do what I say, when I say, how I say." And I'd say, "No, I won't." You can see how that went, right? 2 years old, I said, "Can I move out?" This is a true story. And she said, "No." She said, "You're not even potty trained." And I said, "Pack the diapers." I mean, this is how it began, right? And so she thought she was the boss of me. I thought I was supposed to be in charge of myself. There was just this constant tension. She wanted it done this way. I wanted to do it how I wanted to do it. And so tension in the body became pain in the body. I didn't know that's why I was in pain. She didn't know that's why I was in pain, right? And so there was a lot of unpacking to do. There's a lot of people that had a lot worse things in their childhood than I had. But what I experienced caused pain. Also, I'm this go getter, do gooder, perfectionistic type person. And so I put a lot of pressure on myself. My husband and I were just in charge of a community event with thousands of people. And like the day before it happened, I said, "Are you stressed out?" And he goes, "About what?" I was like, "What do you mean about what?" Right? Like, oh my,
You're already going crazy.
yeah. And he's like, "Oh, it's going to be so much fun." And I'm like, "Fun?" All right. And when it was done, he said, "That was so much fun." And I said, "Fun?" Oh, right. Because I had to make sure the whole thing was perfect. Everything went exactly because of my programming, because of my personality, right? And these are some things I'm still working on in myself. Absolutely. I'm constantly working on myself every day. And here's another thing, you have to work on your mind every day, just like you work on your body, right? If you want to get in shape, you gotta do the work. And then once you get there, you can't be like,
Maintain.
ta-da! I'm
Remember?
done. Bring me the Oreos.
Not for
You
you.
got to go back to the gym again. And the mind is the same way. You got to work on it and change it and transform it to support you in all areas of your life. So I might be 8 or 9 years ahead of somebody listening today, but like everybody, I'm still a work in progress.
Yeah, but thank you for that because I think that's really, and I think that's the perfect example of how it is and how it should be, is that no matter how, whatever you are, level you are, personal, mental, you had to work on yourself on a day-to-day basis. I think that's the biggest thing sometimes we take for granted. Like, I'm it, I got this. The minute you actually get to that feeling that you're it, that's when you start downfall. You're never going to be it. You just it for yesterday. Today's a new day. Things can challenge you, and you have to really maintain. And again, maintenance is everything. I don't care if your body, your car, your house, everything. You don't do a good job about maintaining whatever it is. It's gonna get really down very easy and beat up quickly. As you said, you can look. I mean, we've seen examples of people that look great and then they just let themselves go and boom. Uh, you know, Same thing. I mean, the mind can be very tricky in a lot of ways, and if you don't support it, even positivity. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's very simple to be positive, yet it is difficult for the most of us, we choose to see everything that is bad as to see the one thing that could be good in any situation, and there's always a good thing in any situation. I mean, we can even go beyond what we just talked about today. Bad situation, a lot of good came out of it. Although at the time it didn't seem to be that way. If someone met you that certainly that first year or so, they would have never thought about who you would be today doing this. But that's just an example of a big example, I would say, of how we don't see the future. Yesterday is gone, today is it, and tomorrow is the unknown. There's a lot of work we can do to change today and have a better tomorrow. But that's the thing. It's again subconsciously and consciously. I mean, the three things have to be working together, as you said, to have the balance to be able to maneuver towards that. And again, I love what you said that you are constantly working on it. This is not, all right. It's not like a pill. Here's a pill. You're gonna get better and done. And by the way, pills would do that. They'll mask whatever problem you have. And by the way, there's no reason not to. So I'm not a big fan about medications personally, but I know there is a level of room when you need them. You need them. I mean, there's times where you have no choice. You got crazy pain. Now we can work on the mind. You can just, but there's things when you need to have something like that. The problem is like, okay, so it fixed the problem today, but what am I going to do to avoid the problem and prevent it from even ever happening again? That's our problem. We get to the point where like we're okay, it's gone, but you didn't clear the source of that problem in the first place. It's going to come back again and again and again and again. It's that, for example, I get kidney stones. Now I know that they will come back again unless I make some shifts on how I eat and things like that, and got to get some vitamin D, build some calcium somewhere else so I don't get it in my kidneys. There's work that so you have to learn how to do that. But I did it the first time. I didn't do my studies. I didn't learn until it happened the second time. Then I became little bit more conscious about like, this is not working. I cannot do this again because that pain was very dangerously, you know, I mean, it's just, it's one of the worst pains you can ever, I mean, I didn't have babies. So I know I was told that is as close as having babies, but the idea is that it was passing the baby stone. It was bad. All right. So I can share that. But, now I don't look forward to that. So I want to do whatever it takes. And to do that, I have to work on it day in, day out. So it starts in the mind. I also have to do the necessary steps and action that's going to get me there. And again, just these are examples, folks, but we have to change things. We have to work on things. And by the way, I am totally like amazed at the description of this body muscle testing. And by the way, I did hear about this before, but no one described it the way you did. And it is amazing because again, I mean, these are someone can say like, oh, you guys are, this is not real. Well, folks, only way to find out if it's real or not, go find out for yourselves. You can do the test. I mean, it will work, guarantee you. The body, because you know what when you were describing it, especially if someone watching right now, you know, when I say something, you say no, but the subconscious knows what it is, so it's gonna react whether you like it or not, and that's exactly why your hand is not going down because you're saying one thing, but your mind is saying something else, and the body is just being a response, mechanics, level. That's it. It's just robotic responses, and that's really the stuff. This is real things, folks. I mean, yeah, it gets woo a little bit. But the more you deep dive into this, the more you see it for what it's worth, and it's really a big difference in life. So Jenny, your app is out and your books are out. So if you don't mind, just can you share with us what the books are? I mean, I think you mentioned one about the nutrition, which by the way, that's a whole different topic. I mean, nutrition has to do with a lot of things in our lives and how we behave, our mind, body, and everything. So that's the big one. And there's a lot of debates about that today, especially, I mean, I know you probably watched the news. They finally, the FDA, the red three, whatever, the one of those, red colorings, it's been banned. Let's wish for all the other colors to go as well and everything else, that pesticides and all the stuff. But that's a different story. What are the other books? And then let's talk about the app, because I think the app is a tool that is available to everyone. And also let's talk about your business and how people can actually connect with you. How can they work with you? What kind of program do you offer?
Awesome. So after the nutrition book, I wrote this book. It's called Breaking to Be Me. And this is about how to overcome chronic pain. So pain is an epidemic in the country, and more money is spent on chronic pain than diabetes, cancer, and heart disease combined.
Yeah.
And I believe it's because we don't know that it's coming from our mind. Right? We're looking for the pain. Where is the pain? Like when my back was hurting. Okay, let's do the surgery and see if it helps. Did the surgery, didn't help. Okay, where is the pain? And the fascinating thing, if you talk to scientists, pain is not, you cut your hand, The pain is not in the flesh of your hand. It's a
In the mind.
signal in the brain, right? So how do you get the brain to stop the pain? And so that's what this book is about. It's my story in a little longer version, and it talks about chronic pain and how to realize what's causing it and how to overcome it. So, Breaking to Be Me, it's in, you can get it on Amazon. You can also get a free download of it on my website, balancedyou.org. And my most recent, this is Your Amazing Itty Bitty Magic Mind book. And this one's also on Amazon, and you can find it on my website as well. And this is really just kind of what we cover today, just the basics of the mind and how it works. And it gets into here how to do a brain exercise to repattern the subconscious mind. Because again, it's different than just saying a positive affirmation. You have to believe it, but not just try to believe it, actually believe it. Because when you believe something, it changes your cellular response. It changes how your cell membrane reads the signal from your brain. It changes how your body responds. It changes when someone cuts you off. Do you get mad or do you slow down and go, oh, go ahead, go in? Maybe you're in a rush. What's the automatic? That's based on how the cell membrane responds based on your belief. How do you change the belief? So the book goes into that. And it's super short, super quick read, really, really fun and powerful. And then my app, oh my
Super
gosh,
quick.
the app, it's called Leap Transformation. It's Leap Like a Frog. It's in the App Store, it's in the Play Store. It does the brain exercises you need to repattern your brain. It's fun, it's neuroscience based, it's AI. It asks you, what do you want different in your life? It gives you the brain exercise. Me sitting here on video, same screen, same background, teaching you how to repattern your brain. It helps you take action, it tracks your progress. We have brain studies on it, neuroscience studies on it, energy field studies on it, cellular studies on it. We have 500 people that we tracked on it saying that they were 41% improved in their goal with one use of the app within 1 week. So if you want more than 41% improvement, use it twice. Use it 3 times. Use it every day. Work on that mind just like you work on the body. So Leap Transformation is the app in the App Store, Play Store.
Thank you, and I love the concept. And of course, apps is the name of the game now. I mean, people are turning into tech and AI, and you're already ahead of the game. So I love the ability of adaptability in the skills and all the tools. Everything works. Some people may be traditional; they want to read it in hard, paper. Some people need to get those tricks and from the AI version or the app. You have it, so you have all that now. Now, do you offer programs yourself, like to work with you in person and or your team? Is that something that you do?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That muscle testing, we can actually do it remotely. And the muscle test is what we can't offer when you're reading a book or doing the app. The muscle test is kind of the secret sauce to know what's really going on. Now, the app absolutely works, just like I told you, 41% with one use. But if somebody works with us privately, the stats are a lot faster because we can get to the root of the problem really quick. Because you might tell me what the problem is, but I can muscle test and figure out what actually is going on in the subconscious mind. And then we can say, okay, that's a really nice story you're telling me, but here's the actual problem. Let's repattern the brain for the actual problem. So I work on Zoom. You can go to my website, balancedyou.org, schedule a free 30-minute consult with me and work with me or my team, and we'd love to help you change your life for the better.
How long is like someone requires the work? How long will it take to really show some improvements? I
Yeah.
mean, again, I guess it depends on.
Within one session, private session, our last 650 clients, we're tracking an average of 57% improvement with one session. So
Yeah.
have a session.
I'll take that. I'll take that percentage in any given day for anything. I mean, as an
Yeah,
improvement, if we can change ourselves, 57% on a regular basis, it will
right.
we'll tack up nicely. It'll be
Exactly.
quick
Have a
to.
session and then
We'll be
start
fresh
using
in
the
two
app.
days.
Yeah. It's that fast because remember the subconscious mind, a million times more powerful. You're like, how could it be that fast?
So,
Because
so
it's the
quite.
subconscious.
So, question. I mean, are you using any level of hypnotherapy, or is it?
No.
So there's no hypnosis here because some people like. Well, I've tried hypnosis. I mean, I personally love hypnosis, so don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But some people can be like, that's not what I want. This is not hypnosis. This is different. This is again
Yeah, this
different
is
testing.
brain exercises that repattern the subconscious mind. So it's clarifying the goal, doing a brain exercise to repattern the brain for that goal, setting an action plan, and going and doing that action.
Well, listen, folks, this is the real thing. I mean, there's no. I think we all want to be improved and improve our life and improve our. Yeah, first of all, we don't want to be in pain, so I think we all have some level of aches somewhere. And to your point, it may not be physical, it may be just mental, and not in a bad way, but meaning that there's some luggage and baggage that is hiding somewhere that's of doing that, as you said, 40 years of, and depends what your age is. If you watch it and see, and by the way, it could be as a younger age, you could still have the same problems, and you could
Absolutely.
be carrying stuff for 60 years or 50 years. It doesn't matter.
No.
The point is you want to get to it, and the sooner the better, because then life will become a lot better for you. So let's be there. So Jay, thank you so much for really sharing a lot of the insights and being on with us and sharing some of your life, and really this is some powerful business that we talked about today. We're about to close our show, but I always ask the same question: can you give us some final tips to leave our audiences with today?
Yeah, I love that. You remember the story of Roger Bannister? He was the first one to run a sub 4 minute mile. Scientists thought it was impossible to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. And he had something. He had belief. Like Henry Ford says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And so Roger believed he could. And he did. He called the reporters. He said, "Come out to the track. After I work my hospital shift in the morning, meet me at the track and I'm going to do a sub 4 minute mile." And they thought his lungs would implode. And he thought, "No, I can do this." And he ran a sub 4 minute mile. And you know what happened when he was done? Other people started doing it too, because now they believed it was possible. So I want you to look at your life and what are you not believing is possible right now? Would you be willing to change that belief? Because when you believe, you can achieve. So look at your life. Literally, your mind is like a magic wand for your life. And when you learn how to tap into it, you can change anything you want. So we have a new year. What do you want different? We talk about New Year's resolutions, but have you tried to accomplish them before just consciously? What about now if you accomplish them subconsciously with that mind that's a million times more powerful? You're going to get to your goal and you're going to be amazed at the power that was sitting dormant right between your ears. So, what do you want? I know you can do it.
Ooh, well, and listen, 25 is here. This is going to be powerful. Your formula is going to work. Let's do this. I mean, folks, you got to believe, you have the tools. Do connect, with Jenny and her company and her work. And I'll put all that in the description show so everybody's got the access to it. Do check out the app, download it, and see what it could do for you. I mean, the books are available. You can get them or you can download them. I mean, you have all the tools. So again, we are about resources. This is a huge resource because I mean, this is part of a life. If we can get ourselves better, we can do a lot more better in this world and be better to our people and to our environment. And so many things we can contribute positively if we change ourselves to be positive and have a better outlook of, in life in general. So American Age, I hope you enjoyed our show today. So we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.